Welcome! Tonight we step into a world of silence. Not the silence of sleep, but the one that came before anything existed, before earth or sky, before stars or language. A silence so complete it had a name: chaos. Greek mythology often comes to us in fragments: exciting scenes, noisy battles, thunderbolts and flashing swords. But beneath all that there is a longer story, a slower one. A story told over generations, woven into soft poetry, recited beside hearths, and carved into crumbling stone. This is not the story of just heroes or gods. It is the story of how people once imagined time, fate, and being itself. Not with equations, but with names. Not with maps, but with family trees that stretched backward into void and forward into ash. So let us take our time. Let us begin before the beginning. We'll move slowly through myth as if it were history. Carefully, calmly, one era at a time. You do not need to keep track. The names can drift past you like soft waves. The events, whether you remember them or not, will unfold at their own rhythm. And if at some point you find your eyes getting heavy, that's all right. These myths were made to be told in darkness, and they do not mind being forgotten once they're told. Now close your eyes if you like. Breathe slowly, and imagine yourself drifting not into sleep, but into chaos. Segment 1. Before the gods, what it was like when the world was chaos. There was no wind, no stone, no sky, not even darkness as we understand it, because there was nothing yet to be dark, only chaos. Chaos was not a figure with arms and voice, it was space. Or maybe the absence of space. It was potential without shape. It was the deep breath before anything happened. From chaos came Nyx, night, and Erebus, the shadow that fills deep places. Not born in the usual sense, but unfolding like ripples in still water. They did not walk or speak, they simply existed. And then Gaia came. Gaia was Earth. Not the planet spinning in space, but Earth as a presence. Ground, soil, shelter. She came not from a womb, but from the natural unfolding of the void. And when she did, things began to take form. From Gaia came Uranus, the sky. He did not fall down. He appeared above. Not clouds and stars, but the overarching dome. Where Gaia was steady, Uranus was endless. They became a pair. Not in love, not even quite in partnership, but as complements, sky and earth. Above and below, their union produced children, many of them. The first were the Titans, strong, huge, and oddly human in form. Oceanus, who circled the world like a river. Hyperion, who would later bring the sun. Thea, Rhea, Mnemosyne, memory, and Cronus. There were others, stranger. Cyclops with one eye. Hecatoncheires with 100 hands, some beautiful, others terrifying, all of them children of earth and sky. But Uranus was not a gentle father. Some say he feared the strength of his children. Others say he simply wanted the world to stay still. So he pushed them back, into Gaia, into the earth. He buried them in her body. Imagine the sensation, not metaphor but real. Children stuffed into the very womb of the world. Gaia in pain, pressed from within, and silent. She endured it, for a time, and then she made a plan. From within herself she fashioned a blade. Not a sword exactly, but a sickle, a curved edge, and she asked her children, who among them would take it? Only Cronus stepped forward. He waited until Uranus came down, as he always did, to cover Gaia, and then Cronus acted. The story says he cut away the power of his father. It does not dwell on the act, only that from Uranus's blood came new beings, furies, giants, spirits of ash and vengeance, and from his severed form the sea took in the foam and Aphrodite rose. But that is later. For now, know only that Cronus became king. A strange king, suspicious, still young, still full of fear. He married Rhea, another Titan. And they had children: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus. But Cronus had heard a prophecy that he too would be overthrown by one of his own. So he swallowed his children, one by one, not as punishment, as prevention. Rhea, like Gaia before her, grew weary. She hid the last child, Zeus, in a cave on the island of Crete. She wrapped a stone in cloth and gave it to Cronus instead. He swallowed it without checking, and so, hidden away, the youngest began to grow. But that is for later. Now, as you lie still, imagine the rhythm of this early world. The beat of time with no clocks, the breath of earth before trees, the tension between sky and soil, a mythic world but also a quiet one, not yet filled with war, not yet echoing with the footsteps of men or gods, only beginnings, unfolding endlessly. Now the world begins to take shape in ways more familiar. There is sky, there is sea, there is land that stretches between, and above all of it, there are gods. But these gods are not calm. They're not eternal in the way we think of them now. They're new and they're restless. Their power is fresh, still tangled in the fears and grudges of their origins. They are at their core a family, and like many families they begin with secrets, silences, and one very poorly digested stone. Zeus is born in secret, raised in a cave on the slopes of Mount Ida. No throne, no lightning bolt, just goats and quiet. The nymph Amalthea feeds him with milk, bees bring him honey. Around the cave, guards bang their shields to drown out the sound of his infant cries so that Cronus, his father, will not hear. He grows quickly, divinity matures differently, and in time Rhea tells him the truth. That his brothers and sisters, Hades, Poseidon, Hera, Demeter, Hestia, are not dead but swallowed, alive inside their father. So Zeus plans. Some versions say he gives Cronus a potion that causes him to vomit the children back up. Others say they are cut free. Either way, the siblings emerge, whole, ageless and angry. The war that follows is long, 10 years of stalemate. Titans versus Olympians. Cronus, Atlas and their kind on one side. Zeus, Poseidon, Hades and their freed siblings on the other. It is not a war of tactics. It is not told like a tale of clever ambushes or daring charges. It is attrition. One age pushing against another. The grinding of forces that refuse to yield. Eventually the Olympians win. Zeus claims the sky. Poseidon takes the sea. Hades receives the underworld. The earth is shared but ultimately remains rooted in Gaia. The Titans are punished. Most are banished to Tartarus, a deep, dark place far beneath even the underworld, guarded by monsters, locked behind bronze gates. Only a few Titans are spared, those who did not fight or who helped the younger gods. Mnemosyne, the Titaness of memory. Themis, of divine order. Prometheus, a curious figure. He sides with the Olympians, but he does not trust them. He sees the future, not all at once, but in flashes, and he sees the humans, not yet shaped, not yet fully formed, but full of potential. Prometheus moulds them, out of clay in some stories, or awakens them gently from the earth in others. He teaches them things, language, measurement, craft. But Zeus does not approve of this growing independence. He gives them life, perhaps, but denies them fire. Fire is divine, fire is power, and so it is withheld. But Prometheus takes it anyway, hides it in a fennel stalk, carries it back to the humans. The punishment is slow. Zeus binds him to a rock. A bird comes each day to eat from him, his liver some say, but always restored by nightfall. The story is often told in loud terms, but here imagine it differently. Not the moment of pain, but the endless repetition. The slow knowledge that the help he gave cost him his freedom. And still the fire burns in every hearth. Above, Mount Olympus grows quiet. The gods establish their routines. They eat ambrosia, they drink nectar, they argue. They do not age, they do not hunger. They are not mortal, but they are not unchanging. Hera watches Zeus, who cannot stop looking elsewhere. Aphrodite inspires longing, but is herself often unfulfilled. Ares is restless. Apollo speaks in riddles. Artemis retreats into the forests. Athena builds, Hermes travels. Dionysus arrives late and always slightly dishevelled. Each god is a mood, an aspect, a tendency. They do not govern so much as represent. Imagine them not as throned deities, but as distant hills, always there, sometimes visible, occasionally casting a shadow across your life without ever touching it directly. They're immortal, but not permanent. In time, mortals begin to speak of them with stories, some reverent, some critical, always personal. The gods are worshipped, but also feared. Temples rise, but never high enough to reach them. Sacrifices are made, not because the gods need food, but because the act of giving preserves the order of things. The Olympians become part of the rhythm of human life, spring and harvest, marriage and war. Each moment has its god, its story, its ritual, and all of it continues slowly, endlessly, like the movement of stars. Now, as we leave the divine court, let your mind follow the next curve of the mythic river. Away from the gods and into the lives of those who walk among monsters, prophecies and long dangerous roads. Let us now descend from Olympus. Not all the way to the ground, not yet, but to a place in between, the realm of heroes. These are mortals, or half-mortals, who brush against divinity but never quite belong to it. They walk, they sail, they bleed. They're remembered not for their peace but for their persistence. Their stories are long, their journeys are longer. Begin with Perseus. He's born into fear. His grandfather hears a prophecy that his daughter's child will cause his death, so he locks her away in a bronze chamber, but prophecy finds its path. Zeus in one version becomes golden light and visits her anyway. A child is born, Perseus. Mother and son are cast into the sea in a chest. They drift until they reach safety, on an island, under the care of a kind fisherman. For a while life is quiet, but kings are rarely content. The ruler of the island wants Perseus gone and demands an impossible task: bring back the head of Medusa. Medusa, once beautiful, now cursed. Hair of snakes, gaze of stone. She lives far away across oceans, across wastelands. Perseus does not go alone. He receives gifts, winged sandals, a mirrored shield, a curved blade. But what he truly carries is dread. The journey is slow. He walks for days through barren lands, asking questions, hearing rumours. When he finds her, he does not speak. He watches her reflection, strikes swiftly and escapes. The return is long. He rescues a princess, faces another king, and finally returns the head to those who feared him. His story ends not in triumph, but in distance. He becomes a constellation, a faint pattern in the sky. Then there is Heracles, not the cheerful strong man of modern tales. In the oldest versions, Heracles is weary, constantly burdened. Hated by Hera from birth, he's driven mad and kills his own family. As atonement, he's given 12 labours, not simple tasks, but years of wandering, hardship and danger. The Nemean lion, the Linnaean hydra, the stables of Algaeus. Each labour sounds like a feat, but each is a test of endurance. Most take months, some take years. Many require long, uneventful travel. He carries a club, wears a lion's skin, and walks endlessly from one cursed place to another. He's not heroic in the modern sense. He's powerful, but often brutal. He helps people, but rarely stays. In between tasks, he serves kings, builds cities, fathers children, but always he returns to his path. He becomes a symbol, not of glory, but of surviving what seems impossible. Next comes Theseus. He sails with a purpose. The Minotaur awaits. Before that, he walks, quite literally, from the edges of Greece to the centre, fighting bandits along the way. Each one unique, strange, cruel. Theseus defeats them not with strength, but with irony, punishing them as they punished others. When he reaches Athens, he learns the truth. Every year, young Athenians are sent as tribute to Crete, to the labyrinth, to die. Theseus volunteers. He sails in silence, with black sails fluttering. In Crete, he meets Ariadne, who gives him a thread. With it, he finds his way out of the labyrinth after slaying the Minotaur. But on the way home, he forgets to change the sails. His father, watching from a cliff, sees the black sails and throws himself into the sea. Theseus returns a hero, but also a son without a father. Even victories in myth are tinged with loss. And then there is Jason. His tale is not a single journey, but a drifting expedition. Jason gathers the Argonauts, heroes from across Greece. They sail in the Argo, seeking the Golden Fleece. Along the way, they face harpies, clashing rocks, sirens, hostile kings. Jason often survives not through skill, but through others. Medea, a sorceress, helps him. She gives him magic, guidance, and love. He promises her loyalty. But later in Corinth, he breaks that promise. Medea's revenge is slow and quiet at first, then devastating. Jason, old and forgotten, dies alone, struck by a beam from the rotting Argo. All these stories share something: the movement, the walking, the sailing, the endless hours between events. The heroes do not teleport from danger to triumph. They cross forests, wait out storms, sleep on wet ground. Their victories are brief. The journeys are not. These myths, when told gently, are not tales of glory. They are tales of fatigue, of purpose carried through discomfort, of lives defined by tasks too long to summarize. Now, as you rest, imagine yourself beside them. Not in the fight, but in the space between. A long road, a quiet camp, a steady oar pulling against water. The soft hum of a song sung to the stars. A hero, half asleep, dreaming of home. The journey continues. Soon we will arrive at Troy. Now we arrive at the war that lingers over all the others. The Trojan War. Long told, often retold. But behind its famous moments, Achilles' rage, Helen's face, the wooden horse, there is something slower, a drawn-out conflict, a siege without momentum, a story made mostly of waiting. But before the war, there is a party. It begins with a wedding between Peleus, a mortal king, and Thetis, a sea nymph. The gods attend, all of them except Eris, the goddess of discord. She is not invited. She arrives anyway and brings a gift, a golden apple inscribed with 3 words, "To the fairest." 3 goddesses claim it, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. They ask Zeus to judge, but he refuses. Instead, they find a mortal shepherd, Paris of Troy. Each goddess offers him a gift. Hera promises power, Athena offers wisdom, Aphrodite, love. Paris chooses Aphrodite. She gives him Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world. There's one problem. Helen is already married to Menelaus of Sparta. Paris takes her anyway. And so the war begins, not with swords but with choices, with promises and pride. Menelaus calls on his brother Agamemnon. They gather allies, Odysseus, Ajax, Nestor, and many others. Ships are built, oaths are honoured. They sail not for glory but for obligation. The journey is long, storms scatter the fleet. They land eventually on the shores of Troy. The war does not start with a bang, it becomes a siege. 9 years pass. Imagine that, 9 years of waiting, small raids, of occasional skirmishes. Most of the army lives in tents. They grow bored, they argue, they play games, tell stories, dream of home. Most of them will never return. The Iliad, Homer's epic, begins not at the start of the war but near its end. Not with battles, but with a disagreement. Achilles, the greatest warrior, quarrels with Agamemnon, the commander. Words are exchanged, pride is wounded, Achilles withdraws from battle. The Greeks suffer. This is the rhythm of the Trojan War. Long speeches, slow decisions, small flare-ups of violence, and the endless heat of the plain between the ships and the city. Eventually Achilles' friend, Patroclus, goes into battle wearing Achilles' armour. He's killed by Hector, Prince of Troy. Achilles returns to the war. He kills Hector, not quickly, but in a fight that stretches into legend. He drags Hector's body behind his chariot, around the walls of Troy, and still the city does not fall. It takes a trick. Odysseus proposes the wooden horse, a gift left behind as the Greeks pretend to sail away. Inside, soldiers wait. Troy brings the horse inside. That night the Greeks emerge and open the gates. The city burns, but the story does not end with the fire. After the war comes the journey home. Odysseus will take 10 more years to return. He will face storms, monsters, and himself. Agamemnon will return to betrayal. Menelaus will find Helen unchanged. Achilles will die before the city falls, struck in the heel by an arrow from Paris. And Troy, ancient golden Troy, will become dust. Its walls will crumble, its stories will echo, but its stones will not speak again. This is how the Age of Heroes ends, not with triumph, but with silence. Now, imagine the battlefield, empty. The fires have burned out, the tents are gone. A broken chariot wheel lies half buried in dust. The wind moves through it all. The gods have already turned their attention elsewhere. The war is over, the songs have begun, and as they are sung, slowly with pauses between each name, you drift with them, out of myth, into stillness, and now the myths have ended. We began with silence, chaos, a place with no shape, no time, no memory, and we moved through the ages, from titans to gods to mortals, from cosmic conflict to slow grudges, from creation to ruin. Greek mythology, when told gently, is not a story of triumphs. It is a long breath, a pattern, a cycle. Birth, rise, fall, stone, blood, silence. Prophecy, action, regret. Its characters do not live happily ever after, but they endure, and in doing so they reflect something quiet in us. Our fears, our hopes, our patterns. The gods may not hear your prayers, the heroes may not win their battles, but the stories remain, and tonight they are yours. Let your mind settle, let the names fade, let the firelight of memory dim. Somewhere a ship leaves the shore. Somewhere a god sits beneath a tree. Somewhere a story ends, not with a roar but with a breath. Sleep well.